So these are trigger points that, okay, I got to now be accountable and figure a way out of this. I just don't know what the heck a vaccine does to us and for how long.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was very helpful for me to keep going. Elaine, your teaching is, you've got to remember, per existence, everything is perfect. So those that have to die, those that can't get pregnant, those that have to be chronically sick, I've got to remind myself, it is all perfect as it is. Now, that being said, I come up with the counterpoint. When do we stand up and address it? Because maybe I should move along. Maybe I should. Perhaps the relationship has served its purpose. You know, I have zero patience for the little one-liner, till death do us part. Oh, my God, I think that's the biggest fallacy I think that's the biggest hoax that religions have perpetrated on human beings. Because I'd like to know their definition of death. Is it that you have to die? You could have a major transformation. You could go through a horrendous illness and come out on the other side. You died in that illness, but you're still in your body. So maybe you have to really examine, is it going through rough waters that, okay, every relationship has that. And I'm going to, really, really give it a better shot, and we're going to communicate better, and he's going to be more conscious of your sensitivity. If that can be accomplished, great. But in all honesty, there are some relationships I shake my head and I'm like, why was nobody truthful here? You don't fit together. What's the deal?
Yeah.
But, before you get to that point, there's a lot of investigation. There's a lot of communication. You just don't go, like the flower children, oh, well, that didn't work out, on to the next one, because then they've had 5 and 6 and 7 marriages, and they didn't work out either.
Right.
So it gets back to, I really try to keep it simple for myself. Only the presence is real. And trust me, people bugged me over the weekend, and there was like this, you have a low-grade fever. I had a low-grade mantra. Only the presence is real. Because I fully understand that knowing that allows for almost a sense of expansion of consciousness. Now, it's just a sense because you can't expand your consciousness because it is all in all. It's perfect. It's humongous. So that's why even things like seeking enlightenment, bogus. So why would that possibly be bogus? Because you are enlightenment. So I keep, it's a discipline, Shannon, and it's sometimes it feels lonely. That was my biggest thing, loneliness, or a sense of almost depression, because you're trying to stay on point with there's nothing to fix. There's nothing to fix. And I'm wanting to run up and down the streets banging a drum saying, please be careful of what you're doing. I have learned in the supermarket, I've got to mind my own carriage. I can't even look left or right to see what they're putting up on that conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Because it's all perfect. And if they want to poison themselves and their families, it's all perfect. And it's not mine to change. I gather you have to be an East Group kid, or you wouldn't be so shuffled around this year. Tell me.
No, I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm Kua 3.
3? You think you're 3? Number 3? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Tell me just give me your year of birth.
1970.
Okay. And after February?
May 20th.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you are Chen East. That's number 3. And, okay, and just so you know, May 20th, right now, just to make matters even happier for you, you are in what I know to refer to as a transition cycle. But trust me, when I teach this and I feel people are kind of nodding off with indifference or just nodding off, period, I will go right between the eyes. You are in your dying cycle, the 52-day window prior to everyone's birthday, every single year. It's the natural shedding of the skin, whether it be mentally, financially, emotionally, psychically, cosmically, any which way you want to slice it. You're releasing. We are still connected with the cyclical patterns of death and dying. You have a natural autumn and winter. And so you're in winter. And so, yeah, this would not, in a dying cycle, it's not necessarily the best time to restructure your marriage. It's the time to explore it. It's the time to look at it from every aspect. In winter, you're quiet. Winter is, animals are dormant. So you're probably not going to have that heartfelt conversation. But I'd be getting a notebook. I'd be making notes about what do we need to discuss. And oddly, by May 21st, probably some of it will have dropped away.
Because some of it's going to drop on the 5th.
Yeah. It'll just drop away by itself, especially if you start commanding this stuff. Drop it. That'll help you.
Yeah, it's just a lot of psychic pain, a lot of journaling, a lot of meditating, and I can't get rid of it.
Then it shouldn't be gotten rid of. The stuff is serving you. I can relate to that, Shannon, because I would tell you for the past several days, that word psychic pain or that psychic suffering, I was experiencing it. But once it's finished with you in its own natural cycle, it's like the lights go on. And you have a stronger voice and a better vision and a greater clarity. So I wouldn't be anxious to get rid of it. I'd allow it to be. I'd be very thankful for it.
Yeah, I'm trying. I just want to know when it's over.
Well, there's a better chance that it can begin to lift around your birthday, okay? That's the better chance of it lifting. It'd be interesting to know, and you don't have to give me now because I doubt you know, but one good question for you is, what's your idea of personal illumination? And that can all be transformed this year. Personally, I use lots of tools. One of my favorite go-to tools is Osho. I just don't get too far without him because he understood that there's nothing to fix. He was pretty darn smart. And, pretty darn smart, which is why apparently our government did him in. Probably a little too rebellious and avant-garde for their liking. And that's the name of the game. So I want you to be a complete rebel. But to be that strong in that, you're going to have to allow for this disquiet, the same as Sydney. You have to allow for it. It's part of something's being shaken off. And what's happening is really what I'm seeing full on. There's like clouds that have been lurking in the minds of all of us because we've been brought up with rigid ideas of good and bad, and sinful and virtuous and acceptable and unacceptable. Imagine telling a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old, Russia and all of its people are evil. Really? Think of what you've been indoctrinated with. think of what you've been vaccinated with, because we've been vaccinated with this garbage. And that's got nothing to do with the fluids that they're pumping into you.
Yes.
So you're just the product of conditioning, and that's what I suggest you drop. Drop your conditioning.
That's very helpful, and I appreciate it.
All right, then. Carry on.
Thank you.
Goodbye, honey.
Bye.
Well, you can gather from the tone of things here today, I was very triggered by watching these episodes of The Truth About Vaccines. And I know some of you will take the counterpoint with, well, if I wasn't vaccinated, I would have gotten this. I understand that. And they're not saying don't ever have a vaccination. They're actually more likely to say spread them out and start later. And it's very, very interesting. I don't know if any of you were brave enough to watch, go to the movies, and or order your copy of the movie Vaxxed, which was absolutely revolutionary in its presentation of truth, because this dear planet, Earth, has gotten so untruthful, so inauthentic, it's just pitiful. However, it's in this movie, in one of the episodes today, they were showing Dr. Wakefield, who was actually in the movie Vaxxed as well. Dr. Wakefield worked in the system, was a fabulous scientist, an authentic, integrity-filled man. And he began, through his research, to suspect certain links between vaccines and autism. And he wrote a paper, apparently, like a very long paper, and he had 12 other top scientists up from the world-class best scientists, participate in this paper. Well, he was singled out by the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control, and he was vilified. His reputation was 100% destroyed, and he was kind of left to his own devices. Interestingly, 20 years later, a whistleblower from within the CDC at this point wrote to him and apologized for destroying his career and said, "We have come to understand what you said to be true, and I am so sorry, and I hope there is some way to begin to restore you and your career." Whoever this Mr. Wakefield is, his name intrigues me because obviously he's carrying the vibration of wake. He's awakened. This man is awakened. His response was so loving and so forgiving. I think he said it's similar to, "I forgive you for everything. My concern is that we have healthy children and healthy people on the planet." Now, that's a big soul. And I can't understand why any of you would not want to see something like this. Why would you not want to know that things have come full circle? That maybe the junk they're selling to you as vitamin water or some... Oh, here's one. I remember when my dad became very sick, and the system put him on something. It was called Ensure. I asked my very humble country doctor at the time. Since his passing, I tell you, it's one of the biggest losses in my life. He kind of raised an eyebrow. He said, "Elaine, don't ever touch that stuff. It's pure junk." So there are people that know. But even that dear doctor, his own business began to suffer because he simply told the truth. So I'm not sure